Hello, my name is Rene Castro, and welcome to Building Video Games with Python, Lesson 7. In this particular lesson, we're going to explore another aspect of objects beyond just the functions, which are variables. One particular variable we're going to explore is a score variable. And depending on different situations that happen in the game, our scores are either going to increase or decrease. And then finally, this is our first opportunity to display some textual information on the screen, specifically the score. So let's get to it. So from our previous lesson, we learned how to have the game make decisions. The one decision we explored together, which was if the zombie collided with the turkey, let's go ahead and print out the word yum. In preparation for this lesson, I've actually added another decision for the game to make, which is to have the crosshair collide with the zombie, and if it does, we're going to print the words ouch. In order to make the crosshair move around the screen, I practiced some of the techniques from previous videos, which was to set the speed for the crosshair. And one thing I didn't show in that particular video that dealt with motion was that you can actually provide negative angles, and I'm not doing it for this one, but you could also provide negative speeds as well, which just simply changes the direction of the way the particular image travels. So once you've set the speed, you can now tell an image to move, and if you provide the parameter of true to bounce, then it's actually going to bounce around the screen. So let's see what that looks like. So you kind of see in the background, we're getting a bunch of yums and ouch, which stem from the game detecting these images colliding with each other. This is inappropriate though. We should be able to give the player some feedback actually on the game screen. And that's the goal of this particular lesson, which is let's get something on the game screen that the player can see based off actions that are happening in the game. So let's get back to our code. Alright, so as I mentioned in the objective, there's another aspect of objects beyond just the functions. We've definitely spent a lot of time scrolling through the different objects, looking for appropriate functions to complete the task that we want. Well, objects also have variables that can be very useful to us. You've actually already worked with one variable, the over variable. The reason we were able to write game.over was because an object, or the game object, has an over variable. We're going to explore this particular variable in this lesson, which is a score. So zombie collided with turkey. Seems like a bad thing. So the zombie's eating our turkey. So our score is going to decrease. In order for us to access variables, we got to kind of do the same thing we do with the functions, which is first we have to specify the variable of that particular type. So our game variable is a game object, which now will allow us to access this variable. So again, treat the variables just like you do a function, in that first you have to specify the variable and then simply provide specify the variable that represents the game object followed by the variable in that game object that you want to use. Now variables are not functions, so you will not be putting parentheses after these. Okay, so now that we've kind of seen how we can access the variables, how do we manipulate them? So we said that the zombie colliding with the turkey it's a bad thing. So we kind of want to decrease our score. Now mathematically that implies subtraction. So minus. We're going to use a technique called an accumulator, which is a way for us to combine a mathematical operation with an assignment to a variable. So we're going to put equals. Learn these two symbols together. I'll typically refer to these as an accumulator, with the first part simply being how you want to modify the particular variable. So in this case, we want to decrease the score. So we're simply going to say maybe decrease it by 1. Now let's do the same thing for when the crosshair collided with the zombie. Now to me, that's a good thing. That's us killing the zombie. So I'm going to put game.score. And what I want to do here is kind of reward the player is that we're going to increase the score. So increase implies addition. So I'm going to say plus. And because I want to somehow increase the score, I'm going to use an accumulator again, which is plus equals. So I want to increase and assign the value to the score. So I'm simply going to, well, we'll give ourselves a little boost. So if we are actually able to kill or shoot the zombie, we'll give ourselves plus 2 points. So let's save it. Oops. Control S. Let's run it. F5. Okay. I don't see anything. That's because all we've done is simply modify the variable. Again, computer's dumb. It's doing exactly what we asked it to. It's simply either increasing or either decreasing or increasing this score variable. At no point have we told the computer to actually display the score. Okay, so we want to be able to display the score in our game. This goes back to something we've been hopefully practicing and that you're getting better at, is that you search the game library for a solution. So now we're not looking for a variable, we're going back to what we used to do, which is we want to display a score in the game. So we have to scroll through the game object and see if we could find something that's going to allow us to display a score in our game. Hey, there you go. Actually, I'm going to point these three out together, even though we're only going to display, we're only going to work with the display score. We do have a function to just plain draw text on the screen, and we also have a function to display time, which will work in a future video. Right now we're going to focus on this one. You'll see that it has a lot of default parameters. So because pretty much every parameter has a default value, I can do this in our game. So I'm going to say game dot display score. Having a hard time typing. Display score. Now if we left it like that, we can see that our score is going to display at a coordinate of 5, 5. And this business of new font, this is going to be left for a future video game to explore. We won't be exploring it in this particular game. But once you've learned it in another game, you could definitely come back to this game and then play with that. So let's save it. Let's run it. And let's see what we get now. Now we got something on the screen. So you can see here, I mean, it kind of changed around a little bit. We're going to wait for the game. So it increased. Let's see. It's increasing some more. Again, this is artificial. We would not be having the crosshairs bounce on their own. I believe it actually might be the next lesson that we're actually going to control the crosshairs with our mouse. You can see our score decreased there because the zombie managed to collide with the turkey. But for this particular lesson, we've accomplished what we set out to do, which was to manipulate a score via a variable from an object, and then finally our first opportunity to display some textual information on the screen. And that's it. Thank you for watching.